So we'll start now. We have the chance to have two CEOs of very hot companies on the EBG floor today, on stage 2, the best stage. And so I leave you, and the audience is yours for this session.
Thank you, Philippe. Thanks. Yes, thank you for joining us here in the cozy surroundings of stage number 2. We've got a very interesting discussion, I think, coming up on revenue generation, which is something that concerns all of you, I'm sure. And I know we journalists always want to ask questions about revenue generation. How are you going to make money? When are you going to make money? We're going to get into that in a moment. Before, I'm just going to give the floor for a quick moment to Adrian. Now, he's going to talk to you about the bar camps that are going on. You saw them as you came down, and just say a few words about what's coming up in those. So, Adrian.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll be really short. Thank you, everyone. Hello, welcome. My name is Adrien Angliviel. I work for a company called Wild is the Game, and we're supporting the EBG in creating a different space for networking and exchanging. It's called the Bar Camp. It's up the stairs, and we are trying to link the topics of the Bar Camp with the topics that are happening on the stage 2 here. So please feel free to come in. We have 5 sessions today, one at the beginning of the afternoon, which is closely linked to what you're going to talk about right now. And it's an opportunity for you to engage in a very close discussion with our partners, companies, and have people, your peers around in this discussion involved. So feel free, don't need to sign up, you just scan your name tag at the entrance and you can get it and have a good conversation with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay. Right, well, thanks a few more joining us there. Take a seat and we'll start our panel discussion. And to talk about generating revenue, we are joined by these two people. Let me give brief introductions and then they're going to talk a bit more themselves about what they do. Firstly, Nathalie next to me. Nathalie Gaveau is the founder and chief executive of the shopping platform Shopcade.com. Now, Shopcade has offices in London and New York. Now, it's not Nathalie's first venture. She's a serial entrepreneur, she says herself. Before founding Shopcade, she was one of the founders of Price Minister. Now, if you live here in France, you will certainly know Price Minister and beyond, but because it's a very well-known challenger to eBay here in France. That was sold, wasn't it, to a Japanese Rakuten in 2010. So Nathalie will present a bit more about what she does in a moment. Next to her is Michael Amar. Now, he's the founder of a company called Ifeelgoods. That's a digital promotions platform, helps clients to manage digital goods promotions offers, social sharing, and customer service as well. Now, Michael is French, but his company is based in California, Palo Alto, is that right? Or it's in California, where he now lives, having slightly better weather than us here, I suppose, at the moment. He also has a successful track record behind him of various companies. One of those, a French media company, Agorad, which he founded as well. So we've got people with plenty of good experience here. Nathalie, I'm going to ask you first to tell us, yeah, you need your microphone. Tell us a bit more about you and the company and get us into this topic of generating revenue.
Okay. I think I've got a few slides, which I don't want to seem like it's shameless promotion for Shopcade, but because we're talking about the social value chain, I thought it's very interesting to explain what we're doing and how we're creating a social shopping experience that is entirely personalized for users, because this is essentially how we're engaging people in our product. I don't know if we're going to show these. Okay, so Shopcade is a young baby. It's only 11 months old, and I'm just going to quickly explain what it does. It means shopping arcade, by the way. See what's hot, like a boss. So what we do is we create a 100% personalized shopping experience based on what you like, people you want to follow, your friends, brands, and stores you like. And the idea for Shopcade was born out of the fact that we were really we thought we were bombarded with offers and products that are totally irrelevant to our lives. So let's change that. Trend set like a boss. What it means is on Shopcade, the users are empowered. So they can create their own trends. They're selecting, sharing, recommending their own products. Of course, if you don't want to be a trendsetter, you can actually follow trendsetters or people with similar interests or just your friends. And the highest popularity, meaning the more people follow your trends, follow your tastes, and buy what you recommend, the bigger rewards you receive. So we get VIP treatments from lots of brands. We get free products. We get invitation to events. And so the most popular people and trendsetters on Shopcade get rewarded. We've got lots of brands and around 70 million products available. We've got big brands, but also a lot of smaller stores that want virality around their products and want to get their the snowball effect of distributing products via social media. At the moment, we're growing at 30% per month, and this demonstrates really that there is a high customer interest in this new way of shopping, that people are interested in getting personalized experiences. So what does it mean? Just relating to our topic, developing a social value chain. For us, it means essentially 3 steps. Step 1 is understanding how we build a community, understanding what is a social interaction, what are social interactions around products, around recommendations, and focusing really the whole experience of shopping around these people, the Shopcadians, which leads to understanding, having very deep insights on who these are. So Angel, she's one of our top users. We know exactly who she is because she's allowing us to get this information because she knows that it's going to benefit her experience. But the other thing we know is we know the behavior of this person. So these are some of the, for example, some of the things that are shared on Facebook. Deals unlocked, top brands, people followed, prizes that they want, some of the products they've added, and the brands they've followed. So it's actually very, very targeted. And it leads to conversion. So we know that we have higher conversion rate than other affiliate platforms because based on this info, people get feeds that are personalized, they get specific rewards that they will like, and this is driving sales for our retailers who are actually only on the performance basis. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathalie, for that introduction. Let's hand over to Michael. I think you've got a few slides as well. Just tell us a bit about your company as well.
Sure, thank you. So, Ifeelgoods, actually we were looking at how absorbed the consumer is now on his digital life, right? You have people spending their time on music, like whether it's Spotify, iTunes. You have people watching movie online. You have people absorbed with their social gaming. And when you match this with the issues of the marketers, which is, lower conversion rate or higher cost of promotion or how to create social engagement, you think how, can I attract those people that are so absorbed and so immersed into this digital life? And our conclusion of this is that let's give your customers what they want. If they're listening to music, offer them iTunes credits. If they are on Skype all day long to work, give them free Skype minutes. If they're playing social games, give them Zynga rewards. That's the concept of Ifeelgoods. And Ifeelgoods helps marketers incent, convert, and reward their audiences by giving the most relevant incentive to do any action online. So we can help companies actually, do campaigns like buy at walmart.com and get, sorry about this, and get free iTunes credits, or sign up for a newsletter and get free Zynga points, or check in a store and get music reward. The implication of this is that actually we are boosting the whole marketing channel. So when you give a more relevant and instant gratification kind of reward, you get better performance on your ads. So when we A/B test, for example, $10 off versus $10 worth of iTunes credits, if the user is addicted to iTunes, actually it will perform better. We have 2 to 3x better click-through rates on ads. We have 30% more conversion rates. And also we can lower the cost of promotion because people are more enticed by the iTunes than the tenders off that everybody is giving away. So we work across the board with over 100 clients. It's mostly the big guys from Walmart or Gap or Coca-Cola in the US. And in France, we would work with people like L'Oréal, La Redoute, 3 Series, and this kind of large clients like SNCF. And we deploy them in over 14 countries.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have a good understanding of what your two businesses do now. So let's, I'll stay with you, Michael, for this first question. Tell us, what do you think is the best approach then to social commerce to create value? Tell us some of your secrets.
It's a few $1 million question, yes. Yeah. I would have two answers. One of them is that create a relationship, okay? But you can read this everywhere, you don't need me. Google will tell you this right away. But if you allow me, I'll take my personal example. I want to use Facebook, for example, on social networks, not for my personal life, and I don't put my kids' picture on it, but I use it for professional usage. So I would give an advice, which is, if you really want to understand how you can leverage social networks, use yourself as a brand, for example. It's what I'm doing. I won't send an email to all my peers or contacts or prospects about an article that I got because I feel it's too spammy and it's too rough. It's not really like a good relationship with the people I'm prospecting as a vendor. But if I push it on a network, it's not aggressive. And when I see people clicking on one, I'm happy. And when I see people commenting on one of them, I'm even more happy. And when I have someone sharing the article or whatever, it's even better because I really feel connected to this person and she look at what I say. And after some time, you will realize that before you post anything, whether it's a picture, a moment, an article, whatever, you will have a rough guess of how many clicks or share comments you will have. So I would recommend that really to create this relationship is like iterate, try to find a common language that will make people react on a certain topic, and then when you find a topic that attracts the more people, then like build on it.
Nathalie, you agree with that? Have any other thoughts?
No, I think it's a good. So it's all about the relevancy and how you understand enough your customers and you're willing to empower them to essentially share and recommend on your behalf. And so it's about the adequacy between your products and services and people that like best these products and services and that are connected to other people with the same interests. This is really where you see value in the social commerce space.
And okay, so looking at it from the other way around, some of the problems perhaps. What are the biggest? I'll start again with you, Michael. What is the biggest blind spot for marketers or social marketers when they're trying to find ROI in their businesses?
I would say it's the relevancy is to find the angle and perhaps customization or personalization. I'm not going on Facebook to receive aggressive ads, right? I'm on Facebook to exchange, to create a social life and to entertain it. So I think the biggest mistake perhaps that some brands are doing is that they apply exactly the same thing they're doing on other channels, they apply it to Facebook. They will push the same promotion, the same ads, the same website. And I think the issue is that if someone is coming from Facebook to your website because you bought an ad, he doesn't want to see your casual website. He wants to see a website which is adapted to what he's been in his previous experience, so the Facebook experience. I mean, it's not necessarily that you need to be better on Facebook necessarily. You need to be using social tools on your website to have some kind of continuous, experience on and off Facebook.
Nathalie, same question.
This may be a blind spot, but I think one of the big thing as well is in a traditional e-commerce site, like Price Minister, for example, all the messages are coming from the center and they're sent to you, right? And so it's quite easy to track the conversion on a specific message. In social commerce, because the users are the centers, you don't have, messages are coming from everywhere. They can be coming from Twitter, they can be coming from other users. And so one of the big blind spots is actually tracking. For example, on Shopcade, people are not just buying their, we're measuring lots of things. So they're recommending, they're adding into their Shopcades, they're commenting, rating, they're sharing on multiple social media. So it's really blind spot is really tracking.
And do you think brands spend enough on that? Is that something you're saying that is there's not enough of it done? People don't put enough investment or efforts into that?
No, I think it's fairly new. I think all the brands that I meet, they're aware of this and they're adapting to this space. For example, so we work closely with them to show them, okay, this is your audience, this is what they're doing, where they're involved, the type of activity they have, and they're really interested in doing that. I think it's just very early stage for social commerce still.
And we're talking about ROI here as well. Is that the most important metric? Are there others? I mean, ROI is the business term that we always look at, but are there other important metrics, reach, reputation, other things that you look for in your business that you are measuring very closely as well? Do you want to start, Michael?
So actually, if you think about the ads, purely at the ads, it needs to be ROI positive, right? Yeah. You arbitrage of your budget as an advertiser. But if you think about more the content that you're developing on your page, then it's a different kind of ROI. It's how many people are sharing things, and what's the impact of this viral loop? Is there any earned media that I can get from this? But also, what is the feedback? If I see that people are reacting only on a travel, if I'm a travel agency, only on my Hong Kong topics or posts or pictures, and they are not reacting on my Argentina pictures, then I know that perhaps I should adapt my offers. So it's really like creating those tools and this relationship to understand. So the ROI can be very different. It's about creating a relation. To give you an example, it's Zappos, right? Zappos, when they don't have a product, they will send you to someone else, right? A competitor of them. But still, you think about Zappos with a very high value, customer service, and you might go back to Zappos. So it's not like pure ROI. It's also the service and relationship that you can establish as a brand.
Me, I would say that at the end of the day, yes, it's ROI for any business. So yes, we're tracking purchase as is the king of indicators. But what we're looking at is if you define social commerce as social interactions before, during, and after any kind of transaction or commerce. Essentially what we're measuring as well is intentions of purchase. So for example, someone adding a product or following a brand or recommending a product saying, do you like this? Should I buy this? So we're measuring this, and we're also measuring, post-purchase or sharing, which are can be as amplified intention of purchase as well. So we have different indicators, but end of the day, the ROI is, yes, it's important.
It's the key one. Okay, so let's get a bit practical then for a brand that wants to introduce some kind of social commerce or commerce element into what they're already doing. What would the first steps be? Can I start with you, Nathalie, on that one? Because you've just been doing it. You said your business is 11 months old, so...
Yeah. I would say first thing, they need to talk to us. No, it's kind of I think we help brands start social commerce in a very simple way and in a very efficient way, because they can, they actually only pay on performance. So it's a good way to start. I would say data analysis and understanding how your community, who are your top users, how can you empower them to share your products? Does it start on your website? Does it start on your community? And then very data analytics, be very data focused, and really understand what motivates these people.
I can only agree with the data. It's the number one thing. I would say number two thing is to implement things like the Facebook Connect button on your website. For example, if you go to check.com, which I did like a few months ago, I was hesitating in doing the subscription to their services, and then I saw that 10 of my friends have already registered to this. It convinced me. As a user, not as a marketer, it just convinced me. So it's an easy step, but that should be done by any e-commerce website, which is not the case today.
Now, you brought up the subject of Facebook there, Michael, which was the subject of our last discussion as well. That could be interesting to talk about its importance in what you do, but also the whole notion of this Facebook currency. I think it used to be called credits, but Facebook currency. I know you've got some thoughts on that and the potential value of that as well. Could you tell us about that?
Sure. Actually, when we created Ifeelgoods, it was on the, thinking about what happened with the Zynga thing. You know, that those guys came from nowhere and they got like hundreds of millions of players. And when I looked at the demographic, which is still perhaps surprising for some people, is the 43-year-old woman, 2 kids. I was, wow, they're playing those games on Facebook? It's not possible. And after more analysis, it is really this woman who she is, you know, the online shopper. And also, there's only 1% of those that are paying this or willing to buy this currency. So people love those games, but they hate paying for it, right? So we're thinking about how can you relieve the guilt out of people and give it for free. So my point of view is that 25% of people on Facebook, whether you look at the stock market of Zynga or whatever, are still playing those games daily. So we're talking about 300 million people playing those games an hour or more, even every day. But it's a huge asset for marketers because they're playing those games, they are spending time, they're engaging with them. And we see things like, for example, 2 years ago, 7-Eleven as a brand have made a partnership with Zynga and Farmville. So when you were buying a Slurpee, you know, it's those big, you know, drinks. You buy it and then you get a promo code to get free Farmville stuff. It was completely amazing. I was on the 7-Eleven in front of my house and I've asked the manager, how was this campaign performing? He told me, I don't get it. Usually people have to buy the glass and then they go and they pour the drink in. And actually people were buying the glass and going out empty. And they're reselling the codes on eBay. It was completely amazing.
Nathalie, what about Facebook for you, or perhaps other social platforms as well that are critical for your business, or perhaps even perform better?
I think, I mean, for us, Facebook and Twitter are the key platforms. Instagram is also starting to be interesting, really. No, I would say, I mean, it's normal that they, just on your question on Facebook credits, we know that creating a seamless payment experience is really powering, you know, microtransactions, and just like iTunes, so they did their own iTunes, and now they're evolving the system. A lot of people said they're stopping Facebook credits, but actually they're, if I understand correctly, localizing and kind of going to be expanding it. So for Shopcade, really, Facebook is a key platform because obviously you've got all your friends, and even though it's all about interaction with your friends, if you can make communications relevant, it's usually powerful in virality.
Did you want to add something to that, Michael?
Actually, I think it's still 21% of Facebook revenue today.
But I think one of you told me that there was evidence that shoppers referred from Pinterest. Was this you told me this, Michael, or were doing better? No, was this from you? And that doesn't sound true. You must have read that somewhere else.
So it's not the information I got, which is more rumors that if I wrote something that is like Pinterest will be doing less than $45 million in revenues through affiliates. So which is not that big.
Okay.
I think people on Facebook, we did a survey to our users on what they're doing on social media, and 94% refer to Facebook as the place where they interact with friends. So anything that is not related to friends' interactions, sharing pictures, etc., statuses, I think is of lesser importance. Having said that, I think we need to look at the new developments on Facebook. Pinterest is, to me, it's a different ballgame. It's people are discovering, sharing recipes. So it's a lot of non-shoppable items. So a lot of image sharing. So, but in a sense, it's more discoverability as well. So potentially, it's interesting. And we've been described by Business Insider as Pinterest for commerce, which is really, I think, where we're heading.
And when you think about it, I don't know how many people have been to Pinterest and how many between you have actually bought from Pinterest. So some will say perhaps the same thing about Facebook too, by the way. But I think it's how many people also are coming from Facebook to Pinterest, right? If it's 30% or 40% of Pinterest traffic, which is possible because people are sharing on Facebook those pins, then we don't know the real value of Pinterest as a business by itself.
Clearly, Pinterest grew a lot with their Facebook interaction, their social design. It's kind of what made them skyrocket.
Great. Okay. Well, I want to make sure that we have some time for questions from the audience. We've got a lot of people in here for this session. So if you've got a question, we've got a roving microphone. Can you put your hand up and we can find you? that you can put to Nathalie and Michael? I can't see any yet, but that could be. Oh, there's one.
Yes, there is one here.
Okay.
Question for Nathalie or Michael.
And tell us who you are as well.
Hi, I'm Luc Béard from Air France, and I have a question for both of you actually. Starting a social business always raises the question, how do you start? Because you have to have some sort of a starting audience, and I wanted to know, was interested in knowing how you started your business and have a critical mass so that the rest can grow.
It's about understanding the network effect. So it's about really understanding what makes your business truly social, and what makes the fact, essentially the value of the business grows with the number of interactions, and it becomes even more valuable the more people join. So typically LinkedIn, Facebook are all businesses that are based on this. So on Shopcade, that's what we're trying to do as well. So in a nutshell is, how do you create network effect? What is getting people to join? What is getting people to share? What is virality? Where is virality coming from?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, even if our businesses are very different, because you're more B2C and we are B2B, but actually it's how can you be unique with your brand, and you have a lot of assets with your brand. So we've been unique because we were able to have an exclusive contract with Facebook. So it was for us like the main thing to prove the model, and it allows us to open the doors to Walmart and other kind of clients actually. So find something unique that will make traction and PR and create interactions.
Any more questions for now? I can't see any other hands up. I was going to ask you, are there brands which are much better suited to this than others, or brands that just aren't suited in your view?
I think any brand, actually, or any store that wants to create a community is suited. And we have big brands, we have small brands. The nice thing about social commerce as well is that you don't have to have a big advertising budget. If you know how to engage with your community, you can be a small brand. For example, there is a US brand, Nasty Gal, which was a very small brand, and they're huge on Facebook. They're because users are commenting, are answering each other's questions, or every time they have new collections. So they're very transparent. They're very community focused, and they work very well. They're growing fast.
Agreed. It should work for everybody with 1 billion users. Perhaps it's a little bit more easy for people that can personalize or customize their offer. For example, I can name Café Presse. Those guys are customizing, for example, T-shirts and objects. So when they do a T-shirt for Vote for Obama that they publish on the group for Obama, the click-through rate is through the roof. It's like 10x what you will see elsewhere. It's because it's really adequated to the content. Yeah,
the more talkable, the kind of probably more shareable, the bigger it's going to be.
So that's a key to making it work, getting people talking about it. And you talked about Facebook advertising there. I thought it was, we reported this a lot on in business news when General Motors decided to stop using Facebook for advertising. I think it was right before their flotation as well, which didn't probably go down very well. And more recently as well, I think, Michael, you gave me the example of, is it the Dallas Mavericks basketball team, which I hadn't heard of before, actually, but they've also said they're fed up with it. Is this some kind, I don't know if Amina is still here from Facebook, who was here earlier, but is there some sort of Facebook fatigue going on at the moment?
Yeah, good.
I think, some people are complaining because now, by default, when you post something on Facebook, there's only like 11-12% of your friends that will see this effectively. And as a brand, the same thing. When you do a post to your fans, it's not 100% of your fans. What Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavericks owners, said that he wasn't aware of this. Okay, fine. But when you think about Google, okay, how many clicks are coming on the first 3 results, which are paid, So actually, it's a way for Facebook to monetize its audience. I think it's a fair game. And what I'm seeing also when I'm listening to the big retailers we're working with is that real-time bidding, for example, that Facebook just opened a few weeks ago, is working very, very well.
I think there are 2 things going on. One, Facebook has been pioneering, obviously, social networks, and you can't really talk about social media without Facebook, but you have some vertical communities that are that have been developing and growing. So you have LinkedIn, you have Instagram. I mean, obviously you have Shopcade for commerce. So you have more vertical communities that are growing alongside. So that's one thing. The other thing is GM actually stopped advertising, but they're still nurturing a community. So they're still working on engagement and content within Facebook. And what you can see is Facebook wants to promote relevant content. So they don't want spam. So I don't know how good the content was from the other people, but they don't want you just to push information. But if your content is good and is shareable, it will still float.
Now, one of the questions behind us is about stakeholders in the social media economy, and I wondered if I could ask you both to talk to that. Who are the main stakeholders? And some are listed there, but are there any others as well? I'll start with you on that one, Nathalie.
I think stakeholders, to me, it's a collaboration of different skills, which are listed here clearly, but it's really about users. Building for users, understanding users, getting more insights. So users are probably the biggest stakeholders because they are the ones sharing. It doesn't become social if users are not powering the system. And the second thing is, I think, data analysts, understanding data, and it's not listed here, but data is at the heart of what's happening on social, I think.
Again, I totally agree. It's the consumers first, the users. But if you want to talk about metrics, you know, there's a lot of word and a lot of discussion around it. But when you think about the biggest Facebook platform that exists in the world, I think they are going to make $40 million in revenues this year. I think perhaps in this room there is more advertising budget than that. So just to put things in perspective. So it's really a nascent thing still.
And are there any questions, by the way? Otherwise I'm going to ask another one. But if there are any hands raised, I will go to those instead. I don't want to hog it all. Oh, there's one. Oh, sorry, I hope you haven't been doing that for ages and I just couldn't see you. There's a question at the back, so we'll get the microphone to you.
Hi, Ruth from Staples Europe. Just a question around your views on the growing importance of localization and how maybe some of the more niche social profiles or platforms out there might grow as that becomes more important to brands.
I think localization and mobile, I mean, I'm not it's totally critical today. And I mean, you see how Facebook is evolving, you see how the whole ecosystem, how many people are switching entirely to mobile as well. So Shopcade, we're going mobile next year and we're looking at how we're going to use geolocalization. But I think it's totally strategic.
Totally agree again. Perhaps it's the difficult thing is that there's a lot of players. So who are the good players? Is it the Google, the Facebook of this world, or is it the telecommunication operators, or is it this or that startup? I think it's very hard for you guys to find out what's the best strategy to test it. You need to bet actually on one of those infrastructure pretty early on.
Okay, thanks for that question, Ruth. We'll be hearing more from you later as well, I think. Okay, well, we're going to draw our discussion to a close there, run out of time, but thank you both to Nathalie and to Michael for sharing your thoughts with us today. Round of applause for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can both leave the stage. We're going to do a quick change around now with two more guests, so I'll just give them a moment to join us. Right, Thank you. Right, we're going to move straight into another discussion now. This is a very interesting topic as well on the subject of crowdsourcing, which I must admit is a word I hear often, but don't know very much about. So I'm hoping to be enlightened in this discussion. And we've got two people here to talk to us today. The first one here on my right is Olivier Grémillon. And Olivier heads up the French, Belgian, and Moroccan, correct, operations for a company called Airbnb. And Airbnb, I advise you to check it out if you haven't already. I was doing it earlier this week. It's a community marketplace where people can list and also find places to stay around the world, whether it's a night, a week, a month. Is there a limit ultimately to it?
There is not.
Okay, so all around the world. And before taking up this role, you were based in Silicon Valley, weren't you? Where you worked for McKinsey. But now you're back in Paris. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. So Olivier. And with him is Alex Balfour. And Alex, I think, has probably had a very tiring year and in perhaps 6 years, because he was running new media for the London Olympic and Paralympic Games. So you had a very busy summer, I'm sure, with all of that. You were responsible for 77, I read here, different digital channels, and it all seemed to go very well, so congratulations on that. I'm sure behind the scenes there were a few other things going on. You now run your own consulting company as well, so a great experience from both of you. So to start off, I'm going to start with you, Olivier, and just as we did with the last discussion, ask you to tell us a little bit more about who you are and also how crowdsourcing fits into the business that you run.
Okay, so you explained a little bit what Airbnb is. I'm going to come back to that just for a second. So we are indeed a marketplace that lists accommodations around the world. We have more than 250,000 listings globally. And basically, if you have an apartment, a villa, a castle, or whatever, you can rent a room that you have when you have some spare space, or you can rent your entire place when you are going somewhere else, vacationing yourself or traveling abroad or whatever. So we are in 192 countries, more than 30,000 cities. And we just opened our 11th office. So we have one in San Francisco, our headquarters, a few in Europe, and one in Sydney that we just opened. I don't know if we have a few slides or.
There is a clicker in front of you there.
Okay, thanks a lot. Here it is. So I just chose the home page here that you can see, which is called a new feature we launched yesterday called Neighborhoods. And basically what it does is when you want to go to one of the 7 cities listed here, you can actually get some information on the neighborhood you can go to. And the reason why I talk about that is it's actually something that, in a sense, was crowdsourced, because a lot of our users told us, okay, that's great, you have a great website, but now you have more than 10,000 listings in some of the big cities listed here. And it's difficult for me to find the right accommodation, in the right neighborhood. So that's why we created this product where you can actually select whether you want to be in a quiet neighborhood, in an artsy neighborhood, if you want to do more in a shopping neighborhood or a nightlife neighborhood. And it came from the community. It's an idea that actually was generated by our users. And the other interesting piece is a lot of the content on this feature is actually user-generated. So it's another way to actually use our community to make a better product. So crowdsourcing, we really use crowdsourcing throughout our strategy. And just 3 examples here. One is around the product, and I just touched upon that, and we can detail that a little bit later as well, in the development of new products. Another one is around our growth strategy and how we can use our engaged community to actually grow, especially internationally. And the last one is around, exactly community and engagement and how we can, better engage our community and have our community members to actually do some of the job for us. So just to give you a few examples, I don't know if you can see that from the back, but on these 3 dimensions, there is different levels of engagement of our community and how they can help us build some products or give some services. So if we look at the product, for instance, obviously on the low side, on the left side of this of the spectrum, basic customer feedback. I would like to have this feature. This one would work better if you were doing it this way. So nothing very new here. Another one is product integration. So really leveraging user-generated content so that people are local to some cities or to some neighborhoods and know their neighborhoods better than anybody, actually can provide some content to the website is another way we actually use our community to enhance the product. And the last one is actually a pretty interesting one. We have some super hosts on the website, so hosts that are delivering a very good service to our guests. And so we give them a little badge that we can see on the website, but we also invite them to give their opinion on the product. And a lot of the features we have been creating come from these brainstorming sessions we have in different places all over the world with our super hosts, where they tell us, because they use the website all the time, what we should do next. Just quickly on growth and development, word of mouth is really ingrained in our fabric because it's how we grew so fast all over the world, even if until a few months ago we had only one office in San Francisco. So when we opened the office in Paris in February, we already had 4,000 listings in Paris, basically without having done anything. We were not doing any marketing or any advertising or any communication of any sort. The way we got these listings were, a French person going to the US most of the time, having a great experience and realizing, okay, I'm using Airbnb to have a place to stay when I'm on vacation, but at the same time, I have my apartments in the center of Paris sitting idle with nobody in it, and I could, use it and rent it to people who are traveling from all over the world to Paris. So that's how we grew, and it's a very effective way of growing for 2 reasons. One, word of mouth most of the time is pretty cheap because it's free. And the second one is, if you think about it, when you want to rent your place out and you have never done it before, you can see a piece of advertising in the subway, but it's never going to be as effective as having somebody, one of your friends or family member, tell you, I've been doing it for the past 3 months and it's awesome. So word of mouth is really the way we have to grow, especially on the supply side, the number of listings we can have. A few other things like referral programs, obviously, we're using as well. And the last one, employees. So the growth of Airbnb, I think we are around 500 or 600 people globally now. But at the origins of the company in 2008, 2009, a lot of the first employees were actually users. It's still the case, most of the 30 people we have in the office in Paris are hosts or guests themselves. But at the beginning, it was funny to see that the founders thought that to have a customer service that was effective, the best way was actually to use the existing users. So they started to ship a few laptops across the world and say, hey, starting today, you're actually customer support for France. And that's the way they did it. So crowdsourcing was really ingrained in the way we recruited people from the beginning. So I think we have people based in 100 countries right now. So we are trying to rationalize that a little bit so that we don't have people with laptops all over the world doing customer service. But it's the way we grew, and we are kind of proud about it. And the way we are engaged with community, so there is different way a community can be engaged, and we think ours is actually very engaged. So the low end of the spectrum is just being engaged on social media, for instance, or attend the meetups that we are organizing across the world. But when you have people who are organizing their own meetups without you not even asking, it's even better. And we see that, for instance, in Marseille these days. So a few artists and people from the culture scene are getting together to prepare for Marseille Provence 2013. That's going to be a big event next year. I hope we'll get as much press coverage as the Olympics. But yeah, that's a way our community is organizing itself to actually do things together and make this community live even more around the real events. So that's really everything we can do to engage our community to do one of these three things, for instance, is definitely one of the way we try to expand and continue to grow. So we can come back to one of these examples, but it was just an overview on how we use crowdsourcing.
Good introduction. Thanks very much. All right, Alex, tell us about the Olympics and crowdsourcing.
So a little bit of context. Obviously, the Olympic Games is a very different sort of, if you look at it as a business enterprise, it's more than that, obviously, but we don't have the same ongoing relationship with our customer base over many weeks, months, or even years. So the structure of how we communicated changed as we moved towards the major event that we ultimately delivered over a short space of time. But I suppose looking at it three ways. One is, in terms of communication, we had an extremely structured communication program, which I think was a big part of the success that we had, that we were very clear about the messages that we wanted to deliver. We were very clear about what we didn't want to talk about. And so the challenge for us was to keep our messages consistent and extremely clear, but also engaging with a very broad stakeholder group and making ourselves well understood with the public. So that didn't make it easy. We weren't an open house for sort of ideas to come in and out all the time, or even where we were listening effectively, we weren't always able to turn that listening into action, because we needed to satisfy a very broad stakeholder group and have and keep consistent with the mandate we were given around the game. So anyway, what that practically meant is we had very controlled communications, but we did do our best to vigorously listen, to engage with all of our various stakeholders, whether they were sort of part of the Olympic family, the competing teams, our government, other governments, the media, and the public. And in terms of public engagement, a big part of that was building through all the different consumer channels that we built, and everything that was consumer facing was effectively digital first. That wasn't the way we necessarily planned it, it's the way it turned out. So my team delivered, as you mentioned, around 80 different channels, all of them consumer facing channels, because people wanted to engage with us digitally first, whether to sign up for tickets, whether to sign up to be a volunteer, whether to sign up to be part of the Olympic Torch Relay, whether to be part of our education program that reached 2/3 of the country's schools. All these things were digital first. In that process, we built day by day a customer database that by the time we got to our ticket process, where we balloted for tickets, and our volunteering process, where we look for people to sign up to volunteer, we were at about 750,000 people. We signed 46,000 in the first month in 2005 when the Games bid was won, and about 200 a day organically came through after. We got to about 750,000, and then after those two big processes, we were at over 5 million. So that was our core database, and that was a database that it took us some time to actually put some proper CRM tools behind it, but we communicated with that database every 2 weeks, and as we got towards the Games, we communicated daily, and understanding what they wanted, what they were looking for, was a big important part of our mix. Then also coming into Games, two other things. One was that we knew we were going to deliver services for the consumers, but to a much, much bigger audience, because that's what historically had always happened in Games. People want to find out about what's going on during the Games. A lot of them go to their local broadcaster, who has especially rights to show the Games on television, and for most countries it's a television event first and foremost. But we wanted to make sure that our messages were well understood and heard, and we spent a lot of time building our final products, our Games Time websites, our mobile site, our two apps and a mobile game that we delivered, and a bunch of social channels. And in delivering all that, we'd spent a lot of time user testing, whether directly with groups of people and experts. We did about 2,000 hours of user testing on our website alone, or by understanding what the market wanted. So we had a big program in SEO, for example. We built a database of 1,700 keywords that we knew people look for around Olympic terms, and make sure that we were heavily optimized around all those terms. In the end, that meant that we were able to generate we had 112 million users on our website, 15 million app downloads. But what was most satisfactory for us was that we moved from where previous games had seen lower engagement times on their websites and lower average page views per visit when they got to big scale. We doubled all those numbers. So we had 8.5 minutes average visit times on our website, and around 8 page views per visit. And our mobile apps, we had 30 page views per visit and an almost crazy hour and 16 average visit time on our mobile apps because people never put them down. So the analytics software got a bit confused. But that was a testament to the amount of work we'd done in listening directly or through data. And then social was the other area where we spent a lot of time. When we first rolled out our social platforms, the scale was not so big, or was small enough, if you like, that we could engage with people directly. And although we were very controlled in our communications, and we were very controlled about what we said, and everything was approved effectively centrally, because with a huge stakeholder family, you're always going to say something wrong unless you think it through very carefully, even if it sounds right. But in social, initially, we were able to engage directly with people and respond. And when the scale got too big, that became impossible because people's expectation we simply couldn't meet, that they would have their often very positive questions answered. But we did do a lot of listening, and where a lot of people were talking about a theme, we would respond in general to those. And then a challenge for us in social, particularly because of this controlled communications environment, was could we be part of the conversation? Because we always knew that coming into the games, people would be consuming the games through digital media and they'd be talking to each other on social media. Question for us is, could we be part of that conversation? And could we do it in a way that for us we could be comfortable that if they said things that were often well-meaning but didn't sit comfortably with perhaps a sponsor or a competing country or any other of the various stakeholder issues it might have given rise to, how could we be part of that? So we did some testing, and we did a few things, but I'll show you a video of something we did on Twitter, which allowed us to put out effectively a conversation starter, which worked incredibly well and allowed us to engage without taking responsibility for all the content of conversations. I don't know if I press a button to cue that up, but whoops. Do we have that video?